Every grounded man eventually runs into a wall. Not a loud, dramatic crash, but a silent realization. You're sitting there, maybe mid-conversation, maybe staring at your phone, and it hits you she doesn't see you the same. Something in her eyes shifted. Something in her energy feels different. And you replay every moment where you thought being vulnerable would deepen the bond. You thought that if she truly cared, she'd hold space for your pain. You believed opening up would bring you closer, but instead, it pushed her further away. That's the part no one warns you about. Women aren't wired to love you through weakness. They're drawn to strength, to presence, to certainty. The moment you bring her your unprocessed emotions, expecting her to help you carry the weight, something sacred breaks. You go from being the man she chose to the man she has to manage, from leader to liability. It's not because she's heartless. It's not because she's fake. It's because her biology responds to energy, not intention. She might say all the right things, I'm here for you, we'll get through it. But inside, her instincts are scanning for stability, and when she feels yours slipping, she pulls away. You think being honest about your pain will deepen the connection, but she doesn't want to see you unravel. She wants to see you rebuild. It's not your tears, she fears it's the absence of direction behind them. Women can sense when you're bleeding without a plan. And when that happens, attraction dies. Quietly, not in a loud breakup, but in the slow erosion of respect. You thought she'd love you more for showing her your struggle. But what she really loved was your strength, your steadiness, your silence under pressure. Lose that, and you lose her. The moment you start relying on her emotionally, the polarity begins to shift. You may not notice it at first. You think sharing more will bring you closer. You think letting her in on your fears and doubts will make her feel important. But what's really happening is subtle, silent, and devastating to attraction. She stops feeling safe in your presence, not because you're dangerous, but because now she has to carry something she was never built to hold your emotional burden. The second she feels like your therapist instead of your woman, everything changes. The tension, the spark, the instinct to surrender, it fades. And what replaces it is something you never wanted: responsibility. She starts to feel like she's raising you, not being led by you. It's not even about the words you say, it's about the energy you bring. When you're lost and you bring her your chaos without a solution, you've shifted roles. You're no longer her rock. You're now the storm she has to survive. And that dynamic, it kills intimacy. She might comfort you in the moment, but inside, she's recalibrating, measuring, evaluating, wondering if the man she chose is still there, or if he's been replaced by someone who needs saving. That feeling never announces itself, it just grows in silence. She'll still sleep next to you. She'll still say she loves you, but her soul starts drifting. Her attraction begins to erode, and eventually, she won't even know why she feels distant, but you'll feel it, in her tone, in her absence, in the way she stops looking at you like a man she admires. Because once you become the emotional dependent, she stops seeing you as the emotional anchor, and without polarity, without that sacred dynamic, love turns into duty on. Duty never fuels desire. You don't need to be cold to be strong. You don't need to pretend life doesn't hit you. But when it does, how you respond defines everything. Most men think strength means never feeling, never cracking. That's not it. Real masculine strength is about direction, not denial. It's about knowing how to bleed without staining everything around you. When life breaks you down, you don't collapse in front of her. You retreat. You go inward. Not because you're hiding, but because you're building. Because a man who truly understands his role knows this. She's not the place you process. She's the person you return to after you've processed. She's not the container for your chaos. You are. This doesn't mean bottling things up forever. It means mastering them before they leave your mouth. Women can handle your truth, but only when it comes packaged in clarity. You can say, I'm going through something, but if there's no plan, no structure, no forward motion, it triggers her instincts. She begins to question your frame, and once she doubts your emotional leadership, she no longer feels safe surrendering to you. It's not the pain that repels her, it's the lack of posture inside it. So when you're struggling, go build in silence. Cry, in private. Get to the gym. Sit with your boys. Pray, journal, meditate. Find whatever process strengthens your Don't hand her the raw, unfiltered chaos, because she won't know what to do with it. And the moment she has to figure it out for you, she starts to pull away. What she truly desires is the man who walks through the fire, returns without needing to explain everything, and simply shows through presence that he's still grounded. That's what makes her trust you. That's what keeps her close. There's a reason some men feel mythical in a woman's memory. It's not because they shared every detail of their pain. It's because they vanished when life got hard and returned with sharpened eyes, quieter words, and stronger energy. These are the men who don't announce their struggle. They don't narrate every setback. They just go dark, go deep, and come back refined. And that silence, it burns into her memory. She doesn't forget the man who didn't need saving, who didn't hand her a burden, but instead returned with results. That's the man who becomes unforgettable. The one who disappears in pain and reappears in power. When a woman watches you walk through fire without whining, without seeking pity, it triggers a primal reaction. It builds trust. It builds admiration. Not because you were cold, but because you were composed. Because even in suffering, you had structure. You had discipline. You knew the comeback mattered more than the complaint. And she didn't have to carry your pain to be close to you. She just had to witness your transformation. That contrast, that before and after, is magnetic. It's what separates you from the rest. You become the man she talks about long after you're gone. The one who didn't overshare but overflowed with calm strength. The one who showed resilience without performance. That mystery, that quiet self-mastery is what draws her deeper. Because while most men are loud in their wounds and silent in their recovery, you flipped the script. You made your healing your message. Not through words, but through presence. Through movement, through the way you re-entered the world, sharper than before. And that, more than anything, is what etches your image in her soul, not your pain. But what you built from it, the modern world keeps telling men to open up, to share their pain, to cry without shame. And there's truth in that, but only when it's done with strength. Vulnerability without direction is not attractive. It's destabilizing. A woman doesn't want to see your mess before you've made sense of it. She doesn't want to carry the emotional burden you haven't sorted out yourself. What she truly craves is safety, and safety is born from a man's stability, not his sadness. If you bleed in front of her without clarity, she doesn't lean in, she leans out. Not because she's cruel, but because she's wired for protection, not for repair. A woman will respect your emotional truth, but only when it's delivered from a place of leadership. You can be open, but it must be laced with vision. Yes, I've struggled, but here's where I'm going. That kind of man earns respect. That kind of man keeps the polarity alive. Because now she's not dealing with a man who's drowning, following a man who's swimming through the storm with purpose. She doesn't want to fix you. She wants to witness your rise. She wants to see you lead yourself out of darkness. That's what ignites her devotion. When you come to her with your pain already alchemized into power, she sees a man who's done the inner work. A man who doesn't rely on her to hold him together. And that presence, it calms her. It makes her feel safe. It makes her want to follow. In the end, attraction isn't about how much you share, it's about how much strength you radiate. So protect your process. Bleed where you heal. And when you face her, let her meet the man who mastered the storm, not the one still lost inside it. That's the man she'll never forget.